Seventh grade lesson 5.1, we are doing percent increase and decrease. And before we get started with that, I just want to do a quick review about percent, brush off some of those cobwebs. So just a quick reminder, a percent is out of 100. Per means out of, and cent means out of 100, or means 100, like 100 cents in a dollar, right? Or a century is 100 years. So percent is always out of 100. 85% means 85 out of 100. And this this would be, as a decimal, 85 in the hundredths place, right? So 85 in the hundredths place. And the easier way, probably, that you've pointed out to you is, in order to change a percent into a decimal, because we're dividing by 100, right? So take the decimal that would be at the end of this number, 85 and 00, whatever it is, right? Take that decimal, show it up, and then because we're dividing by 100, that's 2 zeros, move it 2 spots over, and you get 0.85. For 50%, that is 50 out of 100, or 0.50. We just moved that decimal spot 2 spots and 2 spots only. This one is 7%, is 7 out of 100. I'm going to move that decimal over 2 spots. Don't forget, it needs to be 2. It needs to be 2 spots and 2 spots only. If there isn't one there, you create one. So to change a percent to a decimal, take that decimal wherever it's at, move it 2 spots and 2 spots only. Sometimes you'll see something like 1.25%. I'm taking this decimal from here and moving 2 spots and 2 spots only to make it 0.0125 as a decimal. So 2 spots and 2 spots only to the left because we're dividing by that 100. The opposite is true if I want to change this decimal into a percent, because now I'm multiplying by 100. So I move the decimal 2 spots and 2 spots only to the right, because now I'm multiplying by 100, adding zeros to it. So 2 0 spots move over. So if I want to change 0.85 to a percent, move the decimal 2 spots over, put the percent sign, 85%. If I want to change 0.5 to a percent, 2 spots. If it was 0.5 to begin with, I would put the 0 on there as the second spot, call it a percent, 50%. If it's 0.07, move it 2 spots over to the right and put the percent sign, and you would get 7%. So just quick dusting off of cobwebs of handling those decimals and percents. So now let's get into percent of change. What's the percent it changed by? So that's what we're going to be covering here. And in order to find the percent of change of something, what we do is we find out what the amount of change was, and we divide it by the original amount. So let's look at what's going on here. We have Amber, who got a raise, and her hourly wage increased from $8 to $9.50. What is the percent increase? So the percent increase is the question. What is the percent increase? Circle the information we have. We know she started at $8, which, by the way, would be the original amount, right? And then it changed to $9.50. So we would just put it into the formula that will give us rate of change is percent of change is change divided by original amount. So original amount was $8, so I can go ahead and write that. And the amount of change, well, she started $8 and then it changed to $9.50. So I just need to find the difference between those two. So I take the larger amount and subtract from it the smaller amount just to get the difference. So that's what they did here. $9.50 minus $8 is going to give me $1.50. That's how much her wage changed by. And so that's what would go here. Then you've got amount of change over original amount. That's what we have here. $1.50 over $8. Run it through your calculator. You're going to get 0.1875. Round it to the hundredths place, though. We don't need to have all those decimal points. We're just going to round it to the hundredths place. So hundredths place is here at the 8. 7 is an up number, so that would round to 0.19. And then, just like I talked about in the previous slide, to change 0.19 to a percent, move that decimal 2 times and 2 times only, and you get 19%. Why do they have that little squiggly? Because we rounded. It's not exactly equal. It's really, really close to equal to that, but it's not exact. So when it's exact equal, we get straight ones. And when it's sort of equal because we rounded it, you get the squiggly equal sign. 19% is the amount her pay increased by. And so what that would mean is at the point where she's worked enough that she made $100, let's say on her original amount, she worked enough to make $100. Now that she's got a 19% increase, when she worked what used to give her $100, now she gets $119. Remember, because 19% is out of 100. So that amount of 100, that's $19. So it's a $19 increase over $100. So I don't know if I made that confusing or not, but if she had 100% raise, she just doubled her income. I think that's the next question on your page, by the way. What does a 100% increase mean? That means that it just doubled. She was making $8 an hour. Now she's making $16 an hour. She just totally increased it. She just doubled it. So it's a full increase. So that's what this one is about. The next part goes into percent of decrease, which is kind of the same. All right, David moved from a house that is 89 miles away from his workplace to a house that is 51 miles away from his workplace. What is the percent decrease in the distance from his home to his workplace? So now the value is going down, not up. He's closer to his workplace than he was before. Circle the information we know. He moved from a house that was 89 miles away, and the new house is 51 miles away. We handled a percent increase the same way we do percent of decrease. It's the change over the original. So his original mileage from his work was 89. The change between what it was and what it is, we would just find the difference between them. And it doesn't matter which order we do this in. We're going to take the larger number and subtract the smaller number from it just to find the difference of the amount. So 89 minus 51 is what they did there, and they got 38. So this is the amount of change over the original distance for him. You run that through the calculator, you're going to get 0.427. I think they rounded that. I think it's more decimals. But we can just round that also to the pennies place, to the hundredths place. So that would be 0.43. Because we're dealing with percents, we only need that hundredths place is all we need. And then to change that to a percent, we would just move that decimal 2 times and 2 times only and change the sign to a percent. 43% decrease on the distance he has to drive. So he almost, because that's almost 50%, 50% would be half. He almost cut his drive in half, which is nice because 89 miles away is over an hour drive to work every day. That would be really far. So no wonder he moved. In that reflect question, they ask us, well, if he moved there, but then he moved again and moved even closer, he says that he will have decreased by more than 100%. Well, 100%, remember, is the whole thing. So he can't get closer to work than more than the whole distance. He'd go to the other side of his work or something. So that wouldn't quite work. 100% would have been, of decrease would have been the whole distance of 89 miles, and now he lives at work. So he's not quite right there. It would be another percent of decrease as he went closer to his other house. He would take change over the original from his new house to his newer house. So there's his error. You can't get more than all the way there. You'd be on the other side of it. So what we've learned is to find percent of change, whether it's percent of increase or decrease, we just put the change over original amount. But this also section also shows us how to use percent of change to calculate information. So let's take a look at how we do this. We have the grizzly bear population in Yellowstone National Park in 1970 was about 270. Over the next 35 years, it increased by about 115%. What was the population in 2005? So again, we're going to go ahead and find out what 115% of the original amount was, because it's gone up. So we need to find 115% of the original amount. You know what? Let's follow my steps. What was the population in 2005? We need to follow the steps. Read it, underline the question, circle the information. So in 1970, it was 270 population of grizzly bears. That's my original amount, 270. And then over the next 35 years, it increased by 115%. It went up by 115%. So 115% of 270 is what I'm going to try and find out to know how much it grew by between 1970 and 2005, because that was the difference of 35 years there. So to find out what 115% of 270 is, well, 115% of 270, that of word there, means to multiply. But I can't multiply the percent. I've got to go ahead and change that into a decimal first. So just like we talked about earlier, show that decimal up. It would be at the end of the number. If you don't see it, it's hiding in the shadow at the end of the number. Otherwise, it would have shown up somewhere. Then move it 2 times and 2 times only. So this is going to be 1.15. So I'm doing 270 times 1.15. And they got 310.5. Remember, though, we're talking about grizzly bears. So you're not going to see like the rear end of a grizzly bear and not see the head end of that. There's no half grizzly bear. So round it up to 311 grizzly bears. That's why it's always important to keep in mind, what am I talking about? Am I talking about things that can be in half, like a dollar? Or am I talking about something that can't be in half, like an animal? So they rounded it to 311 because it didn't make sense to have half a grizzly bear. Now that told us how much it went up by. It went up by 311 grizzly bears. The 115% of 270 told us how much it changed by. It's now 311 more grizzly bears than there were before. But they wanted to know what the population is in 2005. Well, there's still the original 270. And then the amount it increased by of 311. So that gives us 581 grizzly bears now in the park. A lot of them. Make sure they're not hungry when you go visit. Population in 2005 was about 581 grizzly bears. Okay, so what if we had a TV that was originally for sale for $499 at the store? And then we found out on the next week the price is going to increase by 10%. How much will it be? I guess I should have written how much will it be if they're going to increase it next week, let's say. So let's find out how much that will be. We need to find what 10% of $499 is. 10%, remember to make the percent a decimal. Show that decimal up, move it 2 spots, of 499. And that will be $49.09 or 90 cents. 49.9 was the answer, but I'm talking about money, right? Now, a lot of people will make the error and stop there and say, okay, the answer is $49.90. Think about whether that makes sense. If it was $499 and it increased by 10%, the new price is not going to be $49.90, right? That's not going to make any sense. It's going to be higher than $499 because this was the amount it went up by. So now we need to add the amount it went up by to the original amount of the TV, and that's how much it's gone up by. So you will get $548.90 as the new price of the TV. So important information, because if I wanted to buy it next week and I know the price is going up and it would be harder to buy it this week, I could at least see how much more money is that going to be. That's going to be about $50 more. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll figure it out. So $548.90 would be the new cost. Hopefully all of this made sense to you, and with practice I think you'll find that it's that you're understanding it just fine. Let me know if you need help.